welcome back, guys, to the Rake. We have an awesome guest today who is a multi-talented kind of guest. He is a podcaster, a vlogger, a full-time cash player, and also a proud dad. His name is Trevor Savage. Welcome to the pod.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we want to ask you about a lot of stuff, but one of the things, mostly what we were talking about between each other before coming on, I can't speak today, but anyway, about your vlog, because it's hilarious with your kids, but the challenge going on right now, the Play Every Hand Challenge, do you want to explain to everyone what that is?
Yeah, so it kind of started, it's actually something I've always done. I've been playing poker for a living for 15 years. I maybe in 2000, it's actually funny, it's a Daniel Negreanu thing. So in 2006 or something, I read a card player article where he wrote that he would go into his regular game once a month and have these party days where he'd play every hand and just see what happened. He'd get in all these situations he wouldn't be used to, and all the regulars would be like, what is this guy doing? And so I started doing that back then just on my own, and I ended up getting a lot better because of it. I got put in all these spots. So when I started the YouTube channel, I didn't want to I don't play live cash games at all anymore. So if I was going to go to a casino to film, for a vlog, I needed to do something different. I wasn't just going to go play a game and then film. That doesn't seem, entertaining to me. I want to do something different also. So I figured I would just go play every hand. And the way the challenge works is I have to play every hand dealt in unless there's a 3-bet or an all-in before it gets to me. I just go to the casino. I try to go to these podunk casinos, these real small places that only have 1 or 2 1-2 games. And I sit down at 1-2 and I'll just play every hand. And then the goal is to win $2,000 to donate to charity. So far I've done it 14 times. Actually, I think the 15th time I did it this week, but the episode will be out Thursday. Episodes come out every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel. But I started doing, right before the pandemic, I decided that I would show every single hand also. So when I'd done this initially, I hadn't done it in that fashion. I would just kind of do what the other vloggers do, where they kind of show the big hands that happen. Mm-hmm. So instead I realized that I'll just film every single hand. And I have a ridiculous poker memory. So I've played 12 million hands lifetime, and I remember every single one of them and every detail. So when I go to the casino and I'm playing every hand, I just know all the details. I take quick notes, but I also remember all the details very easily. So I kind of have this proprietary idea that not a lot of people can replicate due to that. I show every single hand that I play. I really try to come at it from an entertainment perspective. It's not an educational thing. Mm-hmm. So I got into highlighting the characters at the table as well. So I've come up with I come up with nicknames for each of the players at the table, and I'm only there for about 2 hours. So there's not a lot of turnaround a lot of times in these smaller casinos. So mm-hmm. I'm able to develop characters in this short period of time, get in 60 to 70 hands, and go through them real quickly in the vlog.
That's awesome. How is that going? You're winning money. How many times out of 10? How many times do you get to donate to charity?
So the goal is to win 2,000 total for the entire time. And going into right now, as far as the people on YouTube are concerned, I'm up a little over $1,400, which is pretty ridiculous for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the Rake at 1-2 is just ridiculous. And then I feel like I have to include this in there, not because I'm bragging or anything, but I tip like crazy these dealers. So I have a policy where if I win the pot pre-flop, the dealer gets the whole pot. And that happens pretty frequently at some of these tables. Like when I'm opening every hand, some people are just folding every hand. Because actually, in these games, these 1-2 and 1-3 games in these smaller casinos, the way it works is there's 2 types of people. Either there's other people who are also playing every hand, or there's the other people who aren't playing any hands at all. They're just there to, pass the time or whatever. So that's that way it ends up working out. So some of the tables, I'm just raising every hand, and the dealer's just making tons of money, as I'm just breaking even. So
my first thought when I saw it, because obviously you've done it now for, like you said, 14 times or for a while. If people knew that you were doing this, obviously they would adjust. Have you had anybody be adjusting or say anything to you at the table of, I know it's
zero adjustments. The only time somebody's ever said anything to me was actually the last episode that just came out. There was an older gentleman to my right who, when I first sat down, he had the GTO opening charts on his phone. I thought was hilarious. So I called him the GTO chart. Yeah. And he didn't play. He played one hand every 30 hands or so. and he actually folded pocket queens pre-flop to an all-in in a ridiculous spot, like right at the end of the session. He kept on reaching his head around the plexiglass and talking to me the whole time. And then at the end of the session, he said, you have a really unique style. I noticed you just don't ever fold ever pre-flop. And, you kept putting money in the pot, but you kept losing and losing, but you just kept adding more money on. And then eventually they just kept folding, and then you got all the money and now you're out. And then I was like, yeah, you got it, man. So he's the only person that's ever said anything to me at the table. And no one's ever adjusted. It's just, you're playing with all recreational players. Like, there's no one that's professionally playing in these like smaller casinos. I think over the course of all of these sessions, I've played with maybe one person that I thought was maybe a winning player. So there's no one that's in there really adjusting. The last session I just played that will come out on Thursday, it was unfortunate I had two guys to my direct left that were also playing every hand and winning. So it'll make for a good video, but things didn't go well in that one.
They were just doing it for bragging rights, though. They were
yeah. I've had one person.
The old guy, did you tell him like you were just doing the martingale strategy?
No, I should have. That's a good. I should have said that. I didn't even know what to say, honestly, because I feel like a lot of the social interactions are weird now, though, too, because you got the mask on and the plexiglass there, and like half the time I'm just saying, like, what are you saying? I can't even. And the other thing is, I go in there now that the challenges. I don't know if people are more aware of it or not, but I go in there with like a baseball hat on and like my hood on, and you have the mask on already. So I'm really trying to be nondescript because I don't want anybody to know that I'm doing it. And a lot of the places too, I'm not sure what the filming policy is, but the reason I go to these small places, like I will never do this at Borgata, which is the only place I would really play ever, because I don't want them to ban me or whatever for filming. So if I go to these small casinos and they see the video on YouTube and they ban me, then whatever, it doesn't affect me because I'm never going to go back there again. But I did have someone at Hollywood Casino in Perryville, Maryland. When I first sat down, it was a younger guy, and he said, "Are you Trevor?" And I said, "Yeah." I wasn't even thinking about it. And he's like, "Are you going to film?" And I was like it just caught me off guard, like no. And I was like, "No, man, no." And then he played with me at the table. He didn't go. This was a cool thing, and like hopefully, if anybody is watching us, or if they watch my videos and they do sit at the table with me, if people like try to take advantage of it, then I will just switch tables, or if someone makes it, 80% of their stock pre-flop, and I know that they have aces and they're doing it just because they know that I have to call, I'm just going to fold. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's for charity thing. So this kid though and he was the one kid who I thought was probably a winning player, was super cool. He didn't go, he played at the table, but he didn't go out of his way to disrupt the challenge in any way. So that was cool. And then at the end, he was like, "I probably shouldn't have said anything about filming, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's cool, man. It's all good."
I think it's cool. I played a couple of the meetup games when Nimi and Brad Owen were doing them. There was one that was like a Halloween one last year where I dressed up and maybe one other guy dressed up. It was very embarrassing. And played one at Run It Up Reno. And I thought it was so cool because I sat at the table with Andrew for one of them. And people went out of their way to try to make a big pot. Like, they were definitely trying to make the vlog. And I was thinking, like, wow, you could really increase your win rate if those people think losing money, putting themselves in a minus EV spot just to try to make the vlog, like their hourly might double in meetup games. Do you feel that could be a thing? Obviously not with this challenge, but if you just keep vlogging hands and you're playing normally, do you notice that happening?
Yeah, so I've done a couple of meetup games, and I've been at a lot of Andrew and Brad's meetup games as well, either as just like somebody that was there also, or just I went for fun. And my problem is that I also just want to make the vlog, even though I'm making the vlog. So I'm even though I'm not doing the play every hand challenge, I'm in there playing every hand, and so people are coming after me or whatever. I'm just trying to create good content and have a good time, really. So I think the meetup games are just an incredible experience for anybody that like enjoys poker. It's just so different from going to the casino and playing a regular session. The one meetup game that I hosted at Maryland Live, we had 7 tables, and it was the loudest, raucous party atmosphere you could ever imagine in a poker room, where people were just going crazy. And it was great for my videos as well, because I just got incredible content of just hilarious hands happening and speech play things, and I could just get to film the whole thing without worrying about is anybody around. And so, yeah, I've done really well in the meetups though. Also, I mean, I think I've run pretty well, but when you're playing with people who are just there to have a good time, things are gonna go better for you too if you run well.
How has the audience reaction been to your new stuff? Because, obviously I've talked about this a lot with like Jamie too, and obviously like Brad and Andrew, but because there's a traditional vlog style, that kind of Andrew has created. And every time, we try to branch out a little bit, I definitely feel this like pushback of like, what is this or whatever. Do you feel that, or is your audience just kind of with you?
So I have almost all positive reactions, but I think it's because a lot of them are people that have been on the channel for a long time. I've gotten a decent amount of subscribers over the last 4 weeks since I've been back. I think I've gained like 1,000 subscribers or something in that time period. But most of the people that are watching it that have been a part of the channel for a while just seem to be more positive for some reason, and they've had positive feedback about this. I think they just enjoy the different vibe of it, and that they can get something educational out of it as well, but that it's also entertaining. The kind of trolly responses that I get are almost always from people that are like, no poker professional would play 10 deuce offsuit. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's part of the challenge. They don't watch the video enough to realize the reason for that. Or the other response is like, people are like, who cares about being in there with 9-4 offsuit? You're never going to be in there in the real game. Like, I can't learn anything out of this. But in reality, there's so much. If people are actually trying to get something out of my videos, I think that they could get a ton if they think about things the right way. I'm not going to give it to them. I'm not going to tell them. But if they think to themselves, I mean, it's just the same way you get better at poker in anything, is if they think to themselves, why is he doing it in this way? Why is he limping this spot pre-flop? Or why is he raising this spot? And then, why is he doing this post-flop? Then they're going to get something out of it educationally. I'm just not going to give it to them. They're going to have to figure it out on their own.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit. I'm sorry, Marley. Do you want to ask him something about the same topic? Because I was going to move on.
I was just going to say that, back in the day, or back when I first started playing poker, the guy who was coaching me told me to write down every single hand. And like, that's why I think it's so helpful to people, because, most of the vlogs just highlight the big pots, but people don't realize like that you really get much more out of what you're doing, even though you don't really go into depth about each and every one, but it's like these little decisions are so much more important. So I think, yeah, people could definitely learn a lot.
Absolutely. When people ask me for advice on things, I tell them, stop worrying about what you just did with ace king in the spot. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Look at what you did the 5 hands after that. If you look at your 5 hands that you played after that hand, I bet you find something that will increase your win rate 10 times more than worrying about what you did with ace king in the spot 100% of the time. From an entertainment standpoint, it's funny that I think my challenge is really good, and I think it's entertaining. I really am behind the idea. I don't think it'll get ever as big. I don't think my channel will get ever as big as like Brad's channel, only from the standpoint because the general poker playing population just like wants to see ace king over and over again. Like, they just like ace king. Oh, ace king, you flopped an ace. Like, that's cool. Like, and that's that's what it is. It's not my thing, but that's what it is.
Yeah. I used to write for Doug Polk. We used to make videos, and it would be really frustrating to go off of the hand histories. We'd be like, let's take a break and make this video. Like, I'd have an idea where I'm like obsessed with it. I'm like, this will be so funny. We have to make this video. We'd make the video, and it would get like half the views of like, I had pocket tens under the gun, blah, blah, blah. And like, those videos would take an hour maybe. And then the ones that were like exciting and new material could take like the whole day. And the ones that took the whole day, people were like, whatever, man, just tell us who won the pot.
Yeah,
and it was
exactly.
so frustrating. But, people who are watching at home are probably people who wish they could be playing poker for a living. They missed it. They're at work. They want to see a big cash pot going to you. They want to see how you played. And whatever, you have to like give the audience what they want, I guess.
Well, the benefit that I have is that this is just a fun project that I do. It's like completely fun. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not relying on it for income. Obviously, I'm a very competitive person, so I want it to do well. So I fight the battle between wanting things to do well and doing what I want to do. But in the end, I can just always do what I want to do. I don't have a company that I'm working for, or I don't have like visions of like anything like making a career off of YouTube. I think I've come around more to the idea that I'm spending a lot of time doing this now that I'm having videos coming out every week. So I would like to be compensated a little bit better, just because I'm spending a lot of time doing it. So, but also it doesn't affect me in any way. So I can just like make the videos that I want to make. But to what you just said, I have the same reaction from a view standpoint to the different videos that I put out. So any video where I write something that I think is funny, like a skit with the kids or those type of things, they get, they take 3 times as long and get way, way, way less views and interaction and stuff like that. And that's cool. Those are far more fulfilling for me to do anyway.
It's funny because I feel like I could be wrong, but my kind of worst performing videos or ones that get worse views overall, the actual like core, like real poker community pays attention to those. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like when you made the videos with your kids, like the real poker community, the ones that are like the regs and the people on TV and whatever, like everyone paid attention to those videos. But it's like it's very opposite to what like the average recreational person kind of wants. So I don't know. I think and that to me, like honestly, like kind of feels better almost.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think it's mostly just because you don't get the random clicks on YouTube. So your video is not going to get recommended to people as much because it doesn't have a catchy title or a catchy thumbnail or a catchy topic. Somebody might click on it who isn't expecting to see that. They're expecting to see Ace King versus Aces or something. And instead they click and they see a bunch of kids acting out like other poker players. And so it's a very niche thing to be into, but those are for sure from just a individual standpoint, from my own, I love them the most because I can look back and remember, obviously I'll be able to look back in the future and say like these are the kids, like this, you guys were acting, this is how you were acting. And that I was able to write these scripts up and we were able to, pull off this full production. The feeling when I click the publish button on those videos is infinitely better than just clicking a publish on a regular poker blog.
For sure. I actually have a question related to that. So obviously there's a lot of different ways to parent well. I know some people in poker who keep their kids completely out. Like Kara Scott is a good example. Great mom, great person. She hides her kid's face. She doesn't want to make that decision for her. Granted, her kid is a tiny little toddler at this point. Did you struggle with that? Did you and Jody struggle with that, deciding how much of your children you wanted to have on the internet? Did you let your kids kind of decide? Because they seem to all be hams. They're like loving it, especially Andrew. So did that factor in, or like what did that decision look like?
Yeah, it's tough. It's something I still kind of struggle with thinking about it more. I think if I thought about it more now, like if I was just starting now, I probably wouldn't do it. Not because anything's happened or anything like that, but I don't know if that's just like a shift in mindset. And maybe it's why I have subconsciously not really included them as much lately or something. I don't know. But at the time, my thinking was they had expressed interest in creating a YouTube channel before, and they did a YouTube channel where they created cooking videos, healthy cooking videos. And we did 40 of them. And going into it, this is 3 or 4 years ago, we went into it. I said to them, if we're going to do this, you're going to learn about it. You're going to learn about the process. So you're not just going to be, I'm not going to let you just take a phone and just like, like we're going to actually make videos. I'm going to show you how we shoot it, how we write out the script of what's going to happen. You're going to promote it. You're going to edit it. You're going to learn all that stuff. So we went through that process and they made 40 videos on the channel and they had fun doing it. It was really cool. And it's something obviously great to look back on. And then once I started the YouTube channel itself, I don't even remember making like the conscious decision of like, oh, they're going to be on these videos now. What happened was the first video that I did where they were in was I started the channel because of Andrew Nemi and Jeff Gross's Vlogger in Paradise challenge. So there was a set thing that you had to do each week for 5 weeks, like a set topic. So the 4th week was to discuss one of your favorite poker memories. So my idea was to go through my first ever poker heater and like explain that. So I was like, well, no, I'm not just going to sit in front of a camera and talk. I need to come up with an idea how to do it. So I was like, I'll have the kids act out. Like I'll have Andrew be me and see what it was like to go through this heater. And so we did that. And they like being on camera. They are very good at acting. They enjoy the process. And also it's a bonding experience with the kids. It's not always a fun bonding experience because you're like, come on, just say the line. What are you doing? Like for the 30th time. But it's just a fun thing. And then once we did that one, I hadn't had anything in mind for a while. And then I was watching Marley's video of Poker Boyfriend. And like, I don't know what it was. I just thought to myself, it would be hilarious if Andrew was looking for a poker girlfriend. And like I could, and then all of a sudden these ideas just started flowing to my head, and I was just writing them down. And one of my friends, Jay, helps me write a lot of stuff too. So I would just throw stuff at him, and I'm like, listen, we should do this, and then we'll just have the kids act this out, and I think it'll be pretty funny. And then it kind of just snowballed from there, because like once I did one, I was like, okay, now I have all these other ideas that can continue the storyline or continue other ideas like that, and they enjoyed doing it. So yeah, it was just kind of where it went from there. But that's kind of a long-winded way of saying we didn't put a lot of thought into it, honestly, which is maybe irresponsible parenting from in that regard. But sometimes, like, this is how I live my life a lot of times. It's like, I'm just going to do what I feel is right at the time. And then maybe I'll look back and think, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But it's all good. They're going to be okay.
Yeah, and you have that nice audience. Like, you don't have the 5 million people watching. You have people who are invested in you and they like you. So I feel like there's a lot less risk in putting them out there. They're not going to be fielding a bunch of nasty comments that are like, your kid's fat, or some ridiculous shit that like we get. I think that like that's a good part, and like you didn't take a huge risk. You know, they're going to be kind to your children at least. Yeah,
you guys, I mean, it's I'm sure I think I've said it to Marley before, but like the comments and stuff like that, it just drives me crazy. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I feel bad for you guys that you deal with that, and not just you guys, but like Brad too. Like Brad, and I don't know about Andrew so much, but it seems like Brad has so many people that just like say like really nasty things in the comments. Not as much as you guys, obviously, but it's like, I don't know. You just have to like let it roll off. Because I did it. For the longest time, I didn't have anybody say anything nasty in my videos at all on the comments. And then as I started making some more poker, just like poker-centric videos, then the people started coming in. And I could see that it was like bothering me. I'm like, why is this bothering me? It's stupid. But I'm the type of person, like, I'll never respond to them with something like, because I just don't give them the time of day. But I can see how I can't imagine like what it does to people. And you know, it's just a crappy thing.
I've really had to kind of self-regulate, but it's tough too, because part of the algorithm is kind of responding. Mm-hmm. And when you get so much negativity, you have to see it. So I don't really know what the answer is, but I don't know. It's most of the time it doesn't bother me, but every once in a while I'll definitely be fixating on some idiot for like all day.
I think if your channel got huge, Marley, if you're doing like vlogs and stuff, you should just pay someone to basically mod your, not even like delete comments, but literally like, I'll give you $30 if you go through my comments, give me the constructive ones and leave everything else out, like the nice ones for me. Like, that's probably worth so much for just like your mental health. Because I know that some people like really do take it to heart. There's a really good tweet. I'll see if I can find it to put on this pod, but it was basically talking about cyberbullying. It's like, cyberbullying, are you serious? Just turn off the computer. Like, it can't bully you. Like, you don't have to read it. Obviously, It was said much funnier than that, but that was a really good point, because there were times that I've like been very upset dealing with something. Like, I'll put myself out there, I'll have a very controversial opinion, and then get piled on. It's like, you can just turn it off and like go play with your dogs, go play with your kids. Like, it's a thing where it's like, if you're conscious of it and how it's making you feel, you can really get away from it.
Yeah, I think that the tough thing comes in when you're just having like a crappy day and then you see it. You know, if you're in a great state of mind, if you're aware of how you're feeling, it's very easy to respond to something and just like, well, this is a reflection of them and not of me. And you know, have some like empathy almost for the person and how they're probably not in a great state of mind, or they're dealing with something in their own life. But when you've had like a really crappy day, or you're just not, you know, you didn't get a good night's sleep, all these other things that play into it, it's very easy to respond negatively. You know, or to feel negative and feel like it's an indication of like your self-worth.
We interrupt this podcast with an important message from our sponsors at Run It Once. Start playing on Run It Once Poker today, where you can join the battle for over €12,500 in total cash prizes as part of our popular leaderboard program. This week, we're running 3 No Limit Hold'em leaderboards and 4 Pot Limit Omaha leaderboards featuring a variety of different stakes, with a total of 185 finishing spots winning cash prizes. For full details, head to once.run/boards. And if you want to maximize your chances of snagging a top spot on one of those boards, head on over to Run It Once Training, where you'll find the largest library of high-quality poker training content on the web, with 2 new videos posted daily, produced by an impressive stable of some of the greatest minds in the game, including Run It Once founder Phil Galfond. Sign up today at once.run/learn and you'll get free access to 3 of our elite level videos. And now, back to the pod.
My next question. So you have a podcast with your wife, who I know is really into mental health and this kind of stuff as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that pod and just kind of what you guys talk about?
Yeah, sure. So it's called the Raising Nuts Podcast. Also, it comes out every Wednesday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern. We just recorded today, episode 67. And we started it initially as a mental health podcast. We had talked about starting one for a very long time, and then kind of got the final push where it was one of those things where, you think about creating content for a while and you just kind of put it off like, oh, we're going to do this eventually. And then a friend of ours committed suicide. He was dealing with schizophrenia in June of last year. And we were like, okay, we just need to do this. This is something that we've wanted to do for a while. I'm really passionate about mental health. I've had my own struggles with anxiety. Jody is in nutrition and can offer a lot on that side of things. And I've spent the last 6 or 7 years of my life. I had a really bad panic attack in 2013. And I spent the last 6 or 7 years of my life doing everything I possibly could to figure out what I need to do for mental health. For myself. And I wanted to share, the things that I'd learned with people. And I thought we could have some good conversations, and we have a great relationship. So I thought it would be a good banter back and forth. So we started initially as a mental health podcast that would focus on parenting, nutrition, poker, all these other things. What it's evolved into is more just a podcast about life. And I think that's the way that it needs to be done to have a good effect. Because I think a lot of times there's still such a stigma around mental health, where if you phrase things as mental health chats or a mental health podcast, it doesn't get the ears on it because people are afraid of what they're going to hear. Or they don't want to be bogged down by whatever we're going through. So really, it's just a podcast about life. We talk about our life as parents, as people who are struggling with different things that we're going through. Jody struggles with ADHD and just like feeling like she just can't get anything done in her life. We have obviously parenting struggles. Then we also just have a lot of fun too. We do a segment called Jody Thinks, where we have people send in a word or a phrase. And then she's a pretty opinionated woman, so she has all these different thoughts on different things. So people will send in a word or a phrase, and then she gives her immediately like unfiltered thought about it. And that creates a lot of fun banter there. So our tagline for season 2 was that Jody came up with was that it was a 45-minute conversation each week where you come for the laughs, but you stay for the deep conversation. And so that's kind of how we form every podcast. Usually the beginning's pretty light and we're making jokes and we're having a good time. And then we'll get into different conversations. She's in therapy right now. So we'll talk a lot about what she's talked about in therapy and just whatever else comes up in life. And that everyone kind of goes through it at different times. You go through different struggles and there's cycles, and it's very, you can equate it very much to poker. So in poker, people are always at some place on a graph, right? Either you're like way up here and you're upswinging, and you're way down here, you're downswinging. It's the same thing in life. And it's important to remember that, like, if you're a winning poker player and if you're enjoying life, you're going to come back up at some point. So, the idea is to kind of make those swings less as you go along. So that's kind of sorry, I'm very long-winded today.
Oh, no, it's good.
As always, I actually always am.
No, it's good. I was going to say, from my perspective, it's nice to see people who, like, on the surface have a very good life and have their shit together. Like, your family's awesome and your kids are really cool. And like that, I think that's helpful for people to be like, okay, I'm presenting this image in vlogs and on social media and everything, but like, I don't always feel like this. You're getting the highlight reel. Like, I want you guys to know in our pod that like we have struggles. Like, here's my problem and her problem. And I feel like that's like really good to make people realize they're not alone when they're having just like a shitty month. They get nothing done. They gain weight. They don't exercise. They lose money in poker. It's nice to see people who like on the surface are putting out really positive stuff, like to see that they also are having those struggles. And I think that's just really cool that you have that and make people like that feel way less alone.
yeah, it's just a relatability thing, right? And also on top of that, I've said anywhere that I've done anything, and we say on the podcast that both her and I are always available to have people reach out to us, and if they are going through something and they just want to chat, or if they just want to email us anonymously and get anything off their chest. One thing that I've started doing a little more since the pandemic, I knew that the pandemic was going to be tough for a lot of people, and I've been really wanting to get into some sort of like mental health, like coaching almost, or life coaching. I don't, there's like all these kind of hokey words for it. Like, I feel like there's not a really good description of it, but I just wanted to be there for people to have one-on-one chats with, specifically men who feel like they maybe can't talk about things, or they've never talked to somebody about something. And so I've started having these like bro therapy type chats with people, and they've been amazing. And I feel like I've been able to help a lot of people with that, and it's helped me for sure, because obviously just talking about any of that stuff. But it's really similar to poker. You have your opponent, in this case not an opponent, but the person on the other side of the screen who has some leaks that you're trying to identify, and you got to come up with solutions, and you got to figure out the way to approach the situation with them and how to respond to them and help them out with things. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing a lot more in the future. Obviously, I don't claim to be a registered or like a licensed therapist or anything like that. So when I go into the sessions with people, they understand that this is not like a doctor's consultation or anything like that, but it's certainly fulfilling, and it definitely satisfies something that you don't get from playing poker for a living. Obviously, like when I'm playing poker for a living, I'm taking from people constantly. I'm not providing them anything other than maybe some entertainment. But online poker, I mean, I play online poker for a living, which probably is more detrimental to most people than it is positive. So this is my way of hopefully helping people more than I'm hurting them.
What do you do as far as mental health preparation for poker? Do you have like a process, or do you have a coach or anything?
Yeah, I mean, most of my mental health for poker stuff is just around my normal routine. So I've become really routine driven, the cutest. And so I meditate every day. I eat well. I try to exercise when I can. There's the normal things that you'd hear for mental health for poker. But I think a lot of it is also just the experience that I've had, from playing poker for so long for a living, and really getting into my own brain and recognizing the emotions that I'm feeling when things are going poorly, or the emotions I'm feeling when things are going well. And then on top of that, the most important thing I think is, and this is why you don't see too many people play poker for a living and have families, because it's so hard to separate the two. But for me, that's been the most important thing, is that I can come into the office, play my poker for the day, and then end it, and then compartmentalize that completely. So this was my poker work time. Now I'm done with poker, and I'm spending all of my energy on being a dad, being a husband, being the other things that are important to me. So that's like I think a lot of my mental health work with poker is just like introspection and spending time thinking about how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that way. Main thing. For
sure. We've talked about that a lot. I'm showing Crouton because that's my mental health buddy here. He's a registered dog therapist. No, but it's amazing in your life to have kids, family, pets, anything that will love you no matter what. They don't care. Like, he doesn't know about money. It's great. So it's like I get spanked in a session and he's just sleeping behind me waiting to go for a WALK. I think that's so great for people. And like, I don't know, I feel really bad for the lonely poker player who's like, I want to be on my own. I want to be able to travel. I don't want connections to people or animals or kids or anything. It's like, I don't know. I just think that's like a way to set up your life for winning money, but being kind of sad in the long run.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's actually a book called Lost Connections, which is about mental health, that I recommend to anybody to read. And connections are so important to happiness. So if you think that you're just going to be super happy and successful as a poker player because you're going to be by yourself, and you'll be able to, be a great poker player because you're by yourself, the happiness is probably not going to follow. I mean, it could for some people, and if it does, that's great. But having those connections, and having Jody's we've been together for almost my entire poker career. So having her like complete support behind me and having her confidence in me is one of the, for sure, reasons that it's been able to be possible at all for me to play poker for this long. And then a bunch of random variants and luck. Hard work
You
too,
met-
obviously, but yeah.
She was waitressing in Borgata when you met?
No, well, what actually happened was I met her when we were 18, and I encouraged her to date my friend for 8 months.
No way.
Yeah. That was one of those when I wasn't a person that had a lot of self-confidence in myself with girls and things like that. So I just said, my friend here has pretty eyes. You should date him. And she dated him for 8 months. And then but out of our group of friends, she always liked me. Like I treated her well. Like I was nice to her. And we didn't talk for a little while. And then we just randomly reconnected through other friends. And then once we started dating, I told her she should get a job at Borgata because I was playing there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she got a job there, and we would drive in. I switched my shift. She got the nighttime shift. So she was working 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. So we would just go in together like that. But we had met through friends before that.
That's so cute. How's your friend now? Is he still taking it really hard, like 15 years?
Oh, no. I was in his wedding. He was in my wedding. We're all good. It's, the friends groups, they tend to mix when you're younger. This person dates that person. It seems, at least in the case of my group of friends, it seemed to be the way where the people that we ended up settling with had dated our other friends in the meantime. So,
I mean, you don't have to tell me poker players. I'm like any poker players that are dating. I'm just like, I know their full history. Like it's such a little fishbowl that we're in. So yeah, it can get weird, but yeah, I've set friends up too. I've set friends up with exes and stuff because you're just like, whatever. If you're over it and you like the person, like why not do that? That's a cute story. Is she? So she's been around poker and she's making these videos with you, and she's like super invested in obviously the videos with the kids. Does she ever want to play poker, or does she see the lifestyle and is just not into it?
So she gets this question a lot, actually, because we actually do a live stream every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern on YouTube. So we just do this live stream also where we have this kind of group of regulars that come in and we just chat. We just hang out and talk, and people always will come in and ask if she plays poker. And what her answer is that I've tried to teach her a bunch of times, but my teaching method is she's like trying to figure out if a full house beats a flush, and I'm like, all right, so listen, this guy's range is this, and you should 3-bet him here because this. So I skip all the beginning things, and her ADHD combined with that is not good for learning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she just never really got into learning the game. I think she'd be pretty good at it, and I think she would definitely have a good table presence because she has a mean stare, which she'd get her into her opponents with poker face. But she just never really got into the game. We played a little bit of Chinese poker, but that's about it. Also, I think the problem is that with games, we played Monopoly once when she was pregnant with our oldest child. And that didn't end well because I was trying to buy all the hotels and houses, and it was really pissing her off, and she flipped the table on me. So I think we just ended the games there.
That's awesome. Melissa Bird, we're both East Coasters, but Melissa Bird, she was dating Ryan Miller at the time, a really good 08 player, and I was dating Pete Mavro, was out of the game at this point. But we're playing Scrabble Apple, and it almost ended both of our relationships. Like me and Melissa, we're on a team, and we were putting a beating on them. We were playing for no money. I think it was 10 cents a letter or something like that. It was going to be a $20 loss. But I don't know if you know how that game works, but you have to just build bigger words out of smaller words. So Pete puts down curtain, and he's like, beat that one. If you guys can beat that one, and instantly you also look at each other, put down curtailing. You just add the thing. Ryan flips the table, runs out of the room, and is like, fuck this. And Melissa's like, oh my God. And literally they didn't talk the rest of the night.
That's amazing.
It was so awesome, watching people who are at, the top of poker. Their competitive nature just rules out over everything else. And watching something like that lose, I was like, oh my God, we really just almost ended a relationship over a game playing for 10 cents at a time. It's amazing.
Now imagine creating people out of the two of you who are then these little human beings. Now there's 3 of them in the house. There's 5 of us total. So if you play a game, they get pretty competitive. Especially my middle one, Cam. She's hyper competitive with everything she does and does not take losing well. So creates a fun and dynamic.
That's great. I like seeing that in a little girl too. That's awesome because you just don't get that a lot. And maybe she'll be the poker player. And we always ask people with kids, how would you feel if Cam was I want to be a professional poker player and I'm going to start studying it now?
Yeah. So my key takeaway from what my parents did for me was that they kind of gave me the free reign to do whatever it is that I want to do, as long as I got the things I needed to do done. And they always had faith in me. They always encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do. And they just had that belief in me. So I want to make sure that that carries over to my kids as well. And this is actually a discussion we just had on our podcast right before I came on here, that'll be out on Wednesday, where I think that's just one of the most important things you can do for them, because especially in today's day and age, there's a lot of like helicopter parenting, and it's really easy to fall into, where you just feel like you have to control them. You have to tell them what to do. You have to, be on top of them, do this. This is the right thing to do. Whereas if you can just let them know that you believe in them, that carries so much more weight. And my parents always did that for me. So if they came to me and said, obviously within reign, if they come to me and they tell me that they want to be like a murderer or something like that, I'm probably going to say it's not a good idea. But, if it was a poker player, sure, I would say it's probably not the greatest idea from a standpoint. But if you have your heart set on that and it's going to make you happy, then you do what's going to make you happy. But, I think a lot of world problems would be solved if we just did what made us happy, right? Just do what makes you happy and don't worry about what everyone else is doing, and you'd be good.
And there's really no blueprint anymore. We're seeing kind of even the college degree become obsolete and useless. And I think it's going to get more and more so. And it's kind of, I think it's going to be on the next generation to really, like, I hate the phrase build your brand, but kind of, make your own rules. So there's no rule book. So they have to just kind of figure it out, which is scary.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's actually, I didn't even mention this, but that was one of the things that I was thinking initially about letting them do YouTube stuff, was that if they're going to do it, they're going to learn all these things. And so Ava, at the time, my oldest Ava was, 9 or 10. So I was thinking, if she learns all these skills, these are really relevant skills for going forward. She's essentially in school, in a sense, by learning all these different, like how to deal with social media and how to edit and things like that. So that if, say, she decides she doesn't want to go to college in 8 years, she can put on a resume, I've worked on all these, with all these different programs and stuff like that for 8 years. Here's this body of work. And she has that experience, at least, which will help her, in the changing times that we're going to be seeing with all the different, I kind of subscribe to the idea that, and it seems pretty relevant to me already, that we're like moving more towards an entertainment society, where there's obviously less manual labor and things like that, more towards like the Greek days of theater and things like that were relevant then.
And adaptability too.
Good.
I was just saying adaptability, like, I think it's good to like have exposure to all these different things, because I think that a lot of times when people are like sheltered and stuff, and then things just like, I think that's the biggest skill. And I think that, I think it's great that you're teaching them that, honestly. I think it's good.
And also just, they didn't get trolled by anybody or anything like that, but just understanding what negative feedback is and what is good negative feedback, what's positive negative feedback, and how to handle the internet. We're seeing this already. Our kids have phones, they have Instagram, and they're not on TikTok, but they see things. There's these things that go on in these middle schools where people create these accounts and they'll share pictures of the kids and stuff like that, and like say bad things about them. And so rather than shelter them from that, just like understand this is how things are going to be. You have to understand how to react to this.
Yeah.
Again, like just kind of like what we were talking about with how you respond to the negativity in the comments and stuff like that, it's a reflection of the person and not of you. You don't, and the bullying thing is tough to deal with. I mean, there's so many parenting things that are tough to deal with, but the bullying thing is tough because you get that protective instinct where it's like, don't talk about my kid like that. Are you crazy? Like, this is not, no, my kid's a good person. But obviously you have to be aware of everything and how tough it is to handle.
Yeah, I feel like you're describing what I think is like the best thing you can do for your kids, which is like not make their lives really easy, but instead make your kids really strong, because clearly there's going to be a lot of bad stuff that happens to them. Like just it happens to everyone. Like if you go online, you're going to see something mean at some point, but giving them the like ability to realize what matters and what doesn't, that like your family matters, your friends that you actually see in real life matter. And that like some idiot who's like jealous of your YouTube channel, like probably will not matter. And like giving them just the I don't know, the armor to deal with that at such a young age is really good, because I don't see that going away. Like when we're watching The Social Dilemma and I'm like thinking of the little kid they keep featuring, it's like they are going to be so conscious of just their appearance and stuff in ways that, like, as a 12-year-old, I couldn't give a shit. You know, like you just are like, I'm winning at soccer. That's what mattered to me, or like getting a good grade. It wasn't like, oh, I don't know, like I don't think I look cute with this haircut. Like you could have given me the Dumb and Dumber bowl cut at 12 and I wouldn't have cared. And it just sucks that little kids are like becoming so aware of superficial stuff so much earlier in their lives. And like, I don't know. I feel like you're doing a good job of at least like giving them fun stuff to do and introducing them to like the internet in that way.
Agreed. And it's tough though, because I think the right way to approach it is like what we're saying here, because it's so easy to be like, well, it shouldn't be like that. It wasn't like that when I was younger. It shouldn't be like that, you know, and to fight against it like that, rather
Denial.
than just, to be denied,
Yeah.
rather than to just see it for what it is and then react to it there. You know, I try to tell them all the time that we have to focus on the things that we can control. You focus on what you can control. You know, you're seeing, like my kids are seeing what it's like out in the world, or what they think it's like out in the world right now, with like this divisiveness and all these other things. And I try to hammer home to them over and over again. It doesn't matter as far as what you do individually. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter what is going on out there. If you can control what you can control and how you treat people, then that can change the world. If you pass that on to other people and you're good to other people, that's how you can have an impact, obviously on a one-to-one level.
So true. And making poker vlogs, that helps too.
And and entertain people. Get to dance and have a good time, you know, and just make people smile. And that, you know, I mean, with the podcast that we do and with the videos that I create, my idea is to just be a positive thing for people in their lives that they can either be entertained by, or that I can, if I say something on a podcast, or if Jody says something or gives a recipe out or something that makes people feel better that day or improves their life in some way, then they're going to pass that on, right? If you hear something good, if you're listening to a podcast and it makes you feel in a good way, you're going to present that to the next person that you see. You're going to have a positive interaction with them. And that's how change happens. That's how like widespread change happens. If you can just have that happen over and over again.
Definitely.
Where can everyone find you if you want to just run off all the promo stuff now? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to be interested in your podcast specifically, but then also like just the fun vlogs for people who only have 5-10 minutes to check you out. So
the podcast, you can search any podcast platform, Apple, Stitcher, iTunes and Apple are the same. I do this every single time. I don't know why it's like programmed in my mind, but you can search for Raising the Nuts. And then the YouTube channel is youtube.com/raisingthenuts. We also have raisingthenuts.com, which is where you can we have a newsletter that comes out every Monday with a recipe and some food swaps. And I give some mental game advice in there as well. And then we're on all the social media platforms as Raising the Nuts as well.
Awesome.
Cool.
I think that's it.
Awesome. It's been really nice catching up with you. I feel like I met you so many years ago just playing at parks, and you took the good path towards playing cash games, and you're a sane human being with like a happy family. I play MTTs. I'm here with my dog, trying to cope. But yeah, I feel like you picked the better adventure. But yeah, it's really nice catching up with you and seeing all the good stuff you've been doing. It's been really cool talking.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, yeah, it's not too late. You can come back.
Come to our side, Jamie.
You can come back to the other side. It's fine. We'll accept you back. You know, sometimes people make mistakes. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, tournaments are fun. They're fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. Thanks for coming on. I think Marley's being distracted by Spraggy. He came in a little too early this time. Hi, Sprag.
I'm on the podcast.
Did you hear me talking about tournaments?
Third appearance on the podcast, by the way. Hi.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. And everyone who's having a crazy time right now for winning or losing the election, whatever it is, all that stuff. Check out Trevor's mental health pot. It could help you. But yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.